Imagine discovering a document lost to time, a letter written by Pontius Pilate himself, describing the face and color of Jesus in a way never seen before. Today, we're going to reveal incredible details that could change the way you imagine Jesus. This video will provide information that will challenge what you knew until now. Before starting, leave your like and subscribe to the channel, because what you will see here is simply fascinating. The like helps spread this content to more people interested in historical discoveries as impactful as this. Now, you need to watch every detail of this video, and I'll give you a good reason. Throughout the narrative, we will reveal not only the physical description of Jesus, but also the implications of this discovery for history and even for faith modern. You will understand why this letter was hidden for centuries and what it can change in your perception of one of humanity's greatest icons. Get ready to dive into a fascinating journey, full of mystery and revelations that may surprise you. Stay with me until the end, because the most surprising part of this video will be revealed in the last few minutes, and you won't want to miss it. Imagine the following scene. A document lost for centuries, attributed to none other than Pontius Pilate, the Roman governor of Judea. This is the man who, according to biblical accounts, was responsible for condemning Jesus Christ to crucifixion. Now, this mysterious letter emerges from the shadows of time, bringing a detailed physical description of Jesus that, for many, could completely change the way we imagine his appearance. But is this letter authentic? What does it reveal that is so extraordinary that it has caused a frenzy among scholars and theologians? Get ready, because in this video, you will discover every surprising detail of this intriguing discovery. To understand the depth of this find, it is essential to know who Pontius Pilate was and the role he played in the story of Jesus. Pilate ruled Judea between AD 26 and 36, a tumultuous period of revolts and religious tensions. The Jews viewed Pilate as an oppressor, a foreigner who implemented Rome's harsh laws without respect for local traditions. However, it was during his tenure that a crucial event took place: the trial of Jesus of Nazareth. Pilate is described in the Gospels as someone who, at first, was reluctant to condemn Jesus, but who, under pressure, ended up giving in to the will of the crowd. However, what many do not know is that, according to this recently discovered letter, Pilate gave a detailed description of Jesus' appearance. And this description, believe me, defies everything we think we know. This letter, attributed to Pilate, would have been rediscovered in ancient archives. Sources suggest it was hidden in Vatican documents, while other theories point to manuscripts kept by a secret religious order. Exactly where the letter was found remains a mystery, which of course only adds to the fascination surrounding it. But regardless of where it came from, the content is, to say the least, intriguing. The document describes Jesus in a way that has rarely been portrayed in paintings, sculptures, or films. If the letter is authentic, it becomes one of the most important pieces of historical evidence about Jesus. Now, imagine the impact of this on the culture, art, and even faith of millions of people around the world. According to the report contained in the letter, the first detail that draws attention is the look in Jesus' eyes. Pilate describes that, when he looked at Jesus, he felt a mixture of calm and fear. His eyes were not those of an ordinary man. They were deep, as if he could see through the soul of whoever looked at him. This detail is significant because, over the centuries, Jesus has been portrayed in many ways, but the intensity of his gaze is rarely mentioned so prominently. For Pilate, this look conveyed an unusual serenity, a peace that contrasted with the chaos of his accusation. But the most intriguing thing comes next: the color of Jesus' skin. Contrary to what many imagine, especially based on Western representations of Jesus over the centuries, Pilate describes Jesus with dark, sunburned skin. This makes sense when we consider the geographic context. Jesus was born and lived in the Middle East, a region with hot climates. This information challenges the image widely held in the West, where Jesus is often portrayed with fair skin, brown hair, and blue or green eyes. These traits, most common in medieval and Renaissance European iconography, reflect cultural influence rather than historical accuracy. The letter also details Jesus' hair. Not straight and well-groomed, as often portrayed, but wavy and thick, reflecting the characteristics of a man of the people, someone who walked under the scorching Judean sun. Pilate also describes Jesus' beard dense and dark, completing the portrait of a man with an appearance that for many will be completely new. The question that arises is, if this letter is authentic, how will the Christian world react to this new description of Jesus? Meanwhile, historians and theologians are in an uproar. On the one hand, some experts believe that the letter could be the key to better understanding the historical figure of Jesus. After all, it is a report from someone who supposedly came face to face with him. Others, however, are more skeptical. They question the authenticity of the document, pointing out inconsistencies with the writing style of the time and the fact that such a letter was not mentioned in other ancient records. Still, the possibility that this document is genuine is enough to keep the flame of curiosity burning. Now consider the implications of this description for the iconography of Jesus. Over the centuries, Jesus has been portrayed in different ways depending on the cultural context. In medieval Europe, for example, depictions of Jesus often reflected European features, with fair skin and blue eyes. These images have become so common that many people today still visualize Jesus in this way. However, if Pilate's description is true, these images are not only inaccurate, they also represent a cultural appropriation of the figure of Jesus. But what would be the impact of a review of this magnitude? Would churches and believers accept such a drastic change in the image of the Savior? Beyond art, this discovery has the potential to directly impact modern faith. For many Christians, the image of Jesus is an essential part of their devotion. Seeing this figure in a completely generate discomfort, confusion, and even resistance. But at the same time, it can open space for a new understanding of Jesus as a historical and universal figure, connected not just to one culture, but to all of humanity. This is the real essence of the debate. To what extent can or should we reimagine religious figures based on new historical evidence? Given these questions, it is essential to consider the reliability of the document. How can we be sure that Pilate's letter is authentic? And even if it is, what was your intention in writing about Jesus in this way? There are those who suggest that Pilate, in describing Jesus as looking so different from popular depictions, was trying to distance the man he condemned from the Christ who would later be revered. This could have been an attempt to justify his actions by portraying Jesus as an outsider, someone outside the norm to the Roman elite. However, this is just a theory. What really matters is that, authentic or not, the letter brought to light a new wave of discussions about Jesus' appearance, which leads us to wonder, how can this new vision of Jesus impact the world? And most importantly, are there still more hidden secrets waiting to be revealed about this central figure in the history of humanity? The answer may lie in ancient documents like this one, stored in ancient library vaults or lost to time, waiting to be rediscovered. Each new discovery has the potential to transform our understanding of history, and perhaps even the way we see the world. So as we delve into this journey to decipher Pilate's letter, one thing is certain. Jesus' legacy lives on, being reinterpreted and rediscovered in ways that challenge our imagination. And this, without a doubt, is a story that still has many chapters to be written. Who knows what else we might discover in the future? But I can guarantee one thing. You will want to follow every step of this incredible journey. As we delve deeper into the question of the authenticity of this letter, new questions arise. If this physical description of Jesus is truly true, why has it been suppressed for so long? Some scholars suggest that, over the centuries, certain narratives were controlled and shaped to align with the political and religious interests of the time. Is it possible that the church preferred an image of Jesus that resonated more with lighter-skinned European populations in order to make Christianity more accessible and familiar to those cultures? After all, religion and politics have always gone hand in hand, and the way religious leaders are represented has never been merely artistic. There is always a greater purpose behind each choice. This question leads us to think about the power of images. Think of the Renaissance paintings of Jesus you've seen. In all of them, he has European characteristics, And now imagine how revolutionary it would be for many to see Jesus portrayed with olive skin, dark, wavy hair, and deep-set eyes, as described by Pilate. It wouldn't just be an aesthetic change, it would be a change in perception. This new image could bring people even closer to the real origins of Jesus, connecting him with the cultures of the Middle East, which, in fact, are his true roots. But then the question arises, why would Pilate have written a letter describing Jesus' appearance in the first place? One fascinating theory is that Pilate, after the events of the crucifixion, began to understand the depth and importance of the man he had condemned. There are reports that indicate that Pilate was deeply affected by what happened to Jesus, and that his own wife had disturbing dreams about him. As mentioned in some Gospels, this could have sparked in Pilate a desire to document his experience as a way of sharing with future rulers or even the emperor himself how unusual the trial was and the impact Jesus had on him. It may have been, in a way, an attempt at personal redemption, something he felt necessary to record before his name was lost in the history books as just a man who condemned Jesus. What is also interesting about this letter is the way Pilate describes Jesus as a figure who transcends physical simplicity. In addition to talking about his physical appearance, Pilate writes that when he met Jesus, he felt a presence that he had never experienced before. He describes Jesus as someone who, even though he was ordinary in appearance in the eyes of his contemporaries, carried an authority that did not come from his social position or his clothing, but from something much deeper, something almost divine. This perception by Pilate raises another important question. Did he, deep down, recognize something extraordinary in Jesus, but simply was unable to act otherwise because he was tied to the duties of his position? Many theologians believe that Pilate may have been, in some ways, a victim of circumstances. Although he had the power to free Jesus, the political pressure, both from Rome and the local Jewish population, was unbearable. We cannot forget that Pilate was there to keep the peace and control any potential revolt against the empire. If he refused to crucify Jesus, he could be signing his own death warrant. Thus, the letter may be a way of expressing his regret, a type of belated confession. This line of thought leads us to a debate that spans the centuries. Was Jesus seen as a prophet, a revolutionary, or something else? To Pilate, Jesus was described as a man of unusual peace, but with an inner strength that was impossible to ignore. Imagine the impact this description must have had on anyone who read the letter for the first time. We are not just talking about a spiritual leader, but someone who was, in Pilate's view, unlike anyone else he had ever judged. The mystery doesn't stop there. If this letter is authentic, why was it kept secret for so long? Could it be possible that church leaders decided at some point that this physical description of Jesus, so different from established images, could cause confusion among the faithful? After all, the image of Jesus has been carefully cultivated over the centuries to align with different cultures, facilitating the acceptance of Christianity in regions that might have resisted a more foreign figure. This makes us wonder, to what extent have history and faith been shaped by interests beyond the truth? Returning to the question of authenticity, there are still those who doubt that this letter is legitimate. Skeptics argue that the writing style is not compatible with the formal Latin of Pilate's time, and that details such as the medium on which the letter was written and its preservation over the centuries are highly questionable. However, there are experts who believe that even if the document is not authentic, it may still have been based on traditions or oral accounts dating back to that time. In this case, the letter could represent an attempt to capture the truth of who Jesus was, as described by those who saw him with their own eyes. What if, in fact, this letter was a reinterpretation or a late version of an older document? It would not be the first time that historical documents have been copied and adapted over time. Thus, even if it is not Pilate's original letter, it could still contain truths about Jesus' appearance and presence. This leads us to an important reflection. To what extent are the historical sources we have faithful to the events they portray? How many stories have been distorted, altered, or even erased over time? However, regardless of its authenticity, the letter has the power to make us rethink how we perceive Jesus and how that perception has shaped not only the Christian faith, but also global culture. The figure of Jesus, in all its artistic and religious variations, has become a powerful symbol that transcends borders. But if this description of Pilate turns out to be true, how will the world react? Will we be ready to accept a new Jesus, visually different from the one we grew up with, but still as inspiring and spiritual as the image we already know? Whatever the answer, one thing is certain. The fascination with Jesus, his life, his words, and his appearance will continue to intrigue generations. With each new discovery, like this letter, new layers of mystery are added to its figure. And who knows how many other documents, hidden in libraries or archaeology, yet to be created. Wait to shed new light on the man who changed the history of humanity. If this letter truly has the power to change our understanding of Jesus, we may just be at the beginning of a new era of discovery. The search for the truth about who he was, what he looked like, and what his true impact on the world was continues. And you can be sure of one thing: this story is far from over. With each new piece of this puzzle, we are closer to understanding the truth behind the most influential figure of all time. And maybe, just maybe, the final answer is closer than we think. We have reached the end of this incredible journey through the letter of Pontius Pilate and all its shocking revelations about the true appearance of Jesus. Now, the question that remains is, how can this new vision change what you have always believed? These findings are still being debated, and this discussion is certainly far from over. If you like this video and want to continue following these fascinating stories, leave your like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell so you don't miss any content. This helps a lot to bring more videos like this, full of revealing information that will stir your curiosity. And speaking of which, don't stop here. In the next video, we'll dive even deeper into other historical discoveries that could completely change what you know about the past. I guarantee you, what you will discover will surprise you as much as this letter from Pilate. So, click now on the next video and continue this journey full of mysteries and revelations.